Hey, first period pre-calculus class. Just going to give you some notes here on inverses, which we'll use for Monday. This will be day 6 on Monday. So, hopefully you're enjoying your weekend or have enjoyed your weekend, depending on when you're watching this. And, you made it through week 1 of pre-calculus, kind of get the idea of how things are going. So, hopefully you're good on what we've been doing. Our test will be on Tuesday. So Monday we'll be going over inverses and doing reviewing, and then Tuesday we're going to take our test. So on Monday, if you have some questions on anything that we've been discussing thus far, you can bring those questions to class, and I'll be glad to help you out with those. So let me show you how to find the inverse of a rational function here. First of all, we need to define what an inverse means. And most of the time when I ask the question of what's an inverse, people say the opposite. Well, that's technically not true. Opposite really means positive and negative. The inverse means to switch x and y. So, for example, if you were talking about an ordered pair and you had the ordered pair -2, 7, and you wanted to find the inverse of that, then you would simply switch the x and the y, and you would have the inverse. Notice if I just did the opposite, that would actually be +2 and -7. So that's not the inverse. The inverse, we literally just switch x and y. So when we're doing inverse functions here and trying to find the inverse equation, we're going to switch x and y in our problems, but then we have to solve it for y. So let's take a look at a couple of examples here. Now I'm still trying to go by my rule of keeping it to 8 minutes, so I'm going to try here and see what we can do, not to make this too long. So find the inverse. So I'm going to give you 2 examples here. The first one, f of x equals x plus 2 divided by x minus 3. So we have a rational function here, x plus 2 over x minus 3. Remember that f of x is the same thing as saying y. And we should know that, but just to review you, f of x is the same thing as saying y there. So let's solve this here. So if I take and I replace this with a y, and I rewrite the problem as y equals x plus 2 over x minus 3. All right, and I have that, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the inverse, which means I'm going to switch x and y. So wherever there's an x in the problem, I'm going to put a y in its place. And wherever there's a y in a problem, I'm going to put an x in its place. So I'm going to rewrite the problem like this. X equals y plus 2 over y minus 3. Now, technically, that is the inverse. But, as we know, we don't see problems very much written where x equals. We see them written as y equals. So we have to solve this for y. Now this is a little bit tricky when we do this, but you guys know how to solve rationals. We've been doing that for the last couple of days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this over 1, and I'm going to cross multiply here. I'm going to take the x and multiply it by y minus 3, and so that's going to give me xy minus 3x when I distribute it there. And then I'm going to take the 1 and multiply it by y plus 2, so that just leaves me with y plus 2. Now, that looks a little crazy, looks a little messy, but we're going to clean it up here real quick. Now, here's the idea with inverses. Any term that has a y in it, you want to move it to the left-hand side. Okay? So this here and this term here, they both have y's in them. I want them to be on the left-hand side. Everything else, which would be the 3x and the 2, I want to move to the right-hand side. So what I'm going to do in this problem is I'm going to subtract y over here, and I'm going to add 3x over here. So what happens is my y's cancel here, and my 3x's cancel there, and what I now have is this. xy, move that up a little bit, xy minus y, because I can't combine these. These right here are not like terms, so we cannot combine those. So we have xy minus y equals, and then over here I have a 2 and a 3x. Again, not like terms, so I cannot combine those. So I'm just going to write it down as 3x plus 2. All right, now we're almost done here. Just have to do one little thing. Remember, we are trying to solve for y. So I have a y here and a y here, and I can simplify that a little bit. What we can do is we can take out a GCF. So the GCF in this case is y. So I'm going to factor out a y, and when I factor that out, I'm left with x minus 1, because xy divided by y is x, and y divided by y is 1. And then over here I have my 3x plus 2. Alright? And then remember, I'm trying to solve for y. So the last step is I want to divide this by x minus 1. And when I do that, the x minus 1's cancel. And we get y equals 3x plus 2 over x minus 1. And that is the inverse. Now, to signal that it is the inverse, we just put a -1 on the y there. Y raised to the -1, that means y inverse, and that is my answer for the inverse. Okay? So that's how you find the inverse for a rational. Alright, so let's do one more example here, just to make sure that you have another one, or maybe you want to write this one down, and then, because I'm going to go through this one a little bit faster, but maybe you want to write this one down and see if you can do it on your own, and then if you can, then you got it. So this will be one that you can practice. If you want to, just pause the video, and then you can see the rest of my work to see if you get it right. Alright, so here again, we're going to change this to y equals. We're going to switch x and y. So that becomes 2y plus 3 over y minus 7. Alright, and then we're going to put this over 1, and we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to get xy minus 7x equals 2y plus 3. Again, we want everything with a y in it to come to the left, and everything without a y, which would be this negative 7x and the 3, to go to the right. So I'm going to subtract 2y here. I'm going to add 7x here. Alright, so the 2y's cancel, the 7x's cancel. So here I'm left with xy minus 2y, and over here I have 7x plus 3. Again, we're going to factor out a y, and that leaves me with x minus 2. And then we divide both sides by x minus 2, and we get y equals 7x plus 3 over x minus 2. And that is the inverse, and since it is the inverse, I put a -1 on it. That dinging sound is people coming back from B lunch, because I'm doing this during A lunch. So don't feel like you're back in school yet. You still got some time. Don't have to be back till Monday. But that's the inverse problem. So we'll answer questions on that Monday. I see my clock is at 8 minutes and about 20 seconds, so that's not too bad. So we'll see you guys in class on Monday.